Welcome to Ride Along. I'm Joe Monahan. Today on Ride Along, we're going to talk about the value of data and some techniques in backing up data that people kind of don't consider anymore. When I got into virtualization, things changed a lot in the way that I looked at data, because an operating system was something before that we looked at to back up completely with all the data on it. But as we got into virtualization, we started centralizing a lot of that individual data. So we would build the operating system in a way to where it wouldn't change hardly at all if somebody was using it. So we would have profiles for sure, but the foundational operating system and the applications on it were probably going to be consistent regardless of day-to-day with very minor changes. So from here, we have to figure out a way to be able to look at two types of data and back it up differently. The operating system would be a standard image that if somebody had a problem, we could just simply rebuild the operating system, and now they're back to square one. Now, if they install their own application, well, that's something they're going to have to deal with afterwards. But the idea is recovery. So what happens with their changeable data that happens day to day? Well, if this is backed up in a share or in an NFS or someplace else that they can grab individually as needed. So this is something, once again, that we have to look at and consider in today's type of backup environment, is ensuring that we have an efficient way to get back an operating system very quickly and recover their basic applications. But what happens with the data? Well, in today's environment, we keep that separate, like we just spoke about, so we can return one, many, or all the individual files when and as needed, very quickly and efficiently. Well, in this new world, we have databases, we have containers, we have all kinds of replicated data in all these different places that we're trying to track and be able to recover. And this means that we need more modern solutions, not only to be able to back up and recover all of this type of data, but in different ways, but be able to recover it efficiently and add value as we're doing this. Now, Veeam is one of those solutions that gives you a lot of options. And a lot of people look at options and they get afraid or they get a little upset because they think, it's too confusing. You need to look at it as sitting down and figuring out what the problems are. What are the solutions that you're trying to come up with for these problems, and then go through the list of options and value adds that you have in Veeam and apply them. So you might only be using 5% of Veeam, but you're getting the job done, kind of like what most people do with Word or Outlook. So instead of looking at it as this overbearing solution, looking at it as this set of options that I can select to ensure that I'm getting what I want, instead of having to alter it in a way that I have to accept. I want it to work the way I want it to work, and I want to not be stuck in a proprietary solution. So something like Veeam allows you to be able to select the repository, select how you want these proxies or these individual agents to be able to back up and restore your data. It's how you want to do it, and it's also too how you want to recover. So now we take a look at the way that we put this solution together. And if we want to make changes, it's easy to do because Veeam actually is built to work with you and to ensure that those solutions are going to be able to build upon each other and be able to adjust as you need instead of having to rethink or redesign just because you want to change or alter one of your other solutions that's built into the way that you want to do it. Now, this leads me to the most important part of this conversation, what's the value of that data? Now, how do you define value? For me, value is not what it's worth. Value to me is when do I need it? How quickly do I need it? That's the value. So I could take a look at some type of information that I have backed up, and I can say that it's incredibly valuable, but it's a contract. So I have 2 or 3 days to get it back before I have to sign it. So that's a different type rather than my system that I'm using to purchase or take in purchase orders or take in online purchases. That's a completely different level of value to time. So if you think about it, I could have $1 million contract sitting on the table, but I could have 3 days to recover it. But I could have $3 million $1 orders, and I can't execute them because my system's down, so they're going to take those $3 million $1 orders elsewhere. Now, that's where time becomes a value. And solutions like instant VM or instant data recovery or instant database recovery now become an incredibly valuable tool in the arsenal when you're looking at something like Beam. So once again, it's allowing you to select the value that you apply in the way that you're going to back up and recover the data that you use. So kind of round this out, I think that we really, in most cases, leave the discussion on the table of really sitting down and putting together a true understanding of the content that we are trying currently to protect. And we talk about cloud, and we talk about DR, and we talk about on-prem and immutability and the threat of ransomware. But the truth is, we don't spend enough time really understanding how to best provide the security, stability, and availability of that data first, and then start looking at all of these other elements that will come into play. And once again, there are solutions out there that actually are detrimental to you trying to create a solution in this way. That's the part to me that I've always found fascinating, is people will select a solution and then find out later on that it's not going to do what they want it to do because they didn't take the extra time to think about the entire solution or the complete solution. Take some time, sit down, make sure that fundamentally, everything that you're trying to get done is being done, and then start putting in all of those shore-up pieces, being security, being replicating, having copies off-site in the cloud. You're never going to understand where any of that should fit and this value until you understand the value of its data. And we will have a different discussion on cloud and on the difference between on-prem and replication. But for now, I just want you to consider you won't understand why it should go to the cloud or when until you understand fundamentally how you're going to work with data. Thanks again for joining me on Ride Along. Have a great day.